Where does yesterday's future, which is already here, meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away? Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now. Where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
Welcome. This is a very special day. You just heard the voice of my co-producer and very good friend and colleague, Ryan Treasure at Voice America. He's the VP of Operations. I call him the VP of everything. And it's Ryan's birthday. And I like to say that Ryan and I are a brother and sister. We share a birthday. It's a couple of decades apart. So whatever the mom was, she was an amazing woman, and his mother is still around. So let's all say happy birthday to Ryan Treasure. Happy birthday, Ryan Treasure.
And Bonnie.
Well,
Bonnie, happy birthday.
Thank you. I did a live TV show many years ago, actually 20 years ago in New York in Great Neck. Lori's been on my show. I'll tell you my panelists are in a second. And I had, it was a birthday show and I was 50, and I had a psychologist come in and talk about the psychology of aging, and I had a clown and we had a big cake, and I found people in Great Neck who had October birthdays, and they came on and talked, and it was just a blast. So here we are, Technology Revolution, the future of now. Welcome. We're going to be serious today. We're seriously talking about humor, comedy, being funny, and technology. Where is it all going? We're all coming out of this pandemic. We're not sure what's going on. Can comedians be on stage? Do they want to be in front of a live audience? Are they using tech? Are they using online platforms? How are they reaching out? The world needs to laugh, for goodness sake. So let me read my prepared monologue and then I'll introduce my guest. What's the buzz? I have an article from www.tvbeurope.com. You can go check it out. Here we go. Over the centuries, human beings have always loved to laugh. I want my panelists to all laugh now. There we go. Okay. We can imagine jokes being shared by our cave-dwelling ancestors about the two woolly mammoths. You heard the one about the two woolly mammoths walk into the... No, I didn't hear it either. Today, comedy is shared with a vast audience by world-famous, arena-filling comedians. Comedy is part of human culture. And comedy is also perpetuated and perpetrated by people we've never heard of who are really, really, really funny. So I'm continuing with the quote. There seems to be more comedy than ever. There are local comedy clubs. There's the Edinburgh Fringe, YouTube, comedy series, Hollywood movies. However you like your comedy served up, there's probably a source that's catering to your taste. And your availability and your preferred venue. Let's add that in. One more quote from this article. Still some key challenges. For all but the very top tier of acts, it's hard to make a living. Comedy has always lingered slightly in music's shadow in terms of new media. Comedy is lagging behind embracing digital platforms. This is all a quote from Sarah Henley, co-founder of the SVOD comedy platform Next Up. I have four wonderful people. Two of them I know fairly well. Two of them I just met about 12 minutes ago, and they're here on Faith, and I'm here on Zoom having fun watching them. I see how they think. Two of them are wearing hats. Two of them are not. One is in front of this luxurious poolside castle. It's an estate, and one of them in this very rustic home. And I know he just had quiche for breakfast. So let me tell you who's on with me today. Eddie Sarfati is on. Lori Hamill is with me. Peter Michael Marino and Karen Bergreen. And we're going to ask them for their take on What's So Funny? And that was the name of my first TV show. What's So Funny? The future of human humor and technology. There we go. I am Bonnie. It is my birthday. I'm so happy to celebrate with all of you. I'm not going to cry. Facebook Messenger has been lighting up all morning with people I hardly even know, who I haven't talked to in 2, 3, 5, 10 years, sending me wishes. And I think that's really cool to stay connected. Eddie Sarfati, you're up first. Eddie, we'd love for you to reintroduce yourself. You've been on radio with me once, I think, a couple weeks ago through our mutual friend, Susan Corso. Shout out to Susan Corso. Thank you for introducing me to Eddie. I appreciate it, Susan. And Eddie, in case there's 3 people in the world who don't know who you are, I would be amazed if there are that many, but would you please speak to those 3 people, Eddie? Introduce yourself, what's your background, and what does this topic mean to you? Go ahead.
Sure. First of all, Bonnie, happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm Eddie Sarfati. I've been a professional stand-up comic for the past 20 years. I'm a writer as well, and I run comedy workshops around the country. you might have seen me on Comedy Central or NBC or The Today Show. All right, enough about me. Technology is just so everywhere, more than we could have ever imagined, and it will be more than we're imagining now, I suspect. And every bit of our lives is affected by it, and I think that comedy's been affected by it. I mean, for the past 20, 30 years, even the advent of Comedy Central made a huge change to comedy. And of course, with all the internet platforms and, the widespread, the continually spreading connection with people all over the world, it's definitely taking new turns. And some of them have been magnified during the COVID epidemic because people are depending on remote comedy, I guess you'd call it, more than ever.
Thank you, Eddie. Very, very happy to have you here. And I'm glad you are safe and well. And we did enjoy watching you enjoy your quiche. You said it was, what did you say, goat cheese and spinach?
Spinach, pepper, potato.
I wish you had enough for all of us, really. I'm a little hungry. I didn't
we're not quite at that. Technology yet, but.
True. Downloadable quiche from Eddie. Thank you. And a shout out to Court. Your husband is there with you, and he helped set you up on the tech.
He made the quiche, actually.
Well, Court, thank you for the quiche. I appreciate it. Lori Hamill is up next. I have to tell everybody, Lori was on my TV show. She was shall we say, an online dating advocate. She was working with a woman named Dr. Diana, and Lori and Diana came on my TV show, Something to Talk About, many years ago. It was many years ago. So I moved here to Durham, North Carolina, and I'm at the gas pump filling up my sports car, about a year and a half ago, and a little video comes up on the pump, and it's an insurance ad, and there's Lori Hamill. So I'm filling up the gas, and I'm saying, I know that lady, it's Lori. So I reconnected with Lori, and she's been on this show a couple of times. We talked about pet adoptions, right? Digital remote pet adoptions, and she's been on other shows with me. So Lori, I'm thrilled to have you back. Love the hat, you're rocking it. Lori, in case there were 2.3 people who don't remember you, shame on them. Why don't you reintroduce yourself? Lori Hamill.
Hi, I'm Lori Hamill. Thank you so much, Bonnie, and happy birthday. I hope we get to sing happy birthday to you later in the show.
Anytime,
today.
just break right out and sing. It's okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bonnie. And Ryan. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. That was lovely. Thank you, Lori. I'm very, very flattered. I don't usually talk about it, but why the heck not? And I would have baked for all of you, but it would have been hard shipping them in time. Lori, let's introduce you. Go ahead. That was lovely.
Well, here's a cupcake that my husband knitted. So how about that? That's good for online, right?
No calories.
My name is Lori Hamill. Thank you so much, Bonnie. It was a pleasure to be on your show, the live television show. I think we did one called Funny Ladies.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And also here on the radio. And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm originally from North Dakota. I live in New York City now. I know it seems a long way away, and it is. But my dreams were to be an actress. And so my dream came true with being on Broadway with Mamma Mia, and also did the national tour. And then after that, it was like, hey, what else can I do? So I've been doing a lot of fun television, things like 30 Rock and Samantha Bee and Master of None, The Onion, The Colbert Report, Patriot Act, which was actually just canceled recently. But anyway, I've had a lot of fun on TV, and now I'm trying to go into drama on television, which has really been fun too. Got to do Jessica Jones and do my own stunt, which was amazing. But I love comedy. And Peter Michael Marino, who's also on the panel, and I created a few years ago, Margot Rose Reports, which was, he was the producer and director of that. And I actually played Margot Rose Ferderer, the clueless yet relentless reporter for New York 2. So anyway, I love comedy. Technology, it's interesting how things happen in translation. Years ago, I was with a show called Forbidden Hollywood. I was with both shows, but we were in Osaka, Japan, and they had the super titles up, and I was singing a parody lyrics to a Barbra Streisand song as Barbra Streisand. It was My Man. And for some reason, I messed up and I started singing the real lyrics, but they were watching the super titles, which were in kanji. So they were laughing to the jokes that were being put up on the, super titles while I was singing like a doorknob, the real lyrics. So it's one of those things, translation. It's like, what are you giving to people that they are able to accept and react to? And then what's really happening behind all that. So I think what it is, to me, what's so interesting about this comedy topic that you've chosen today is how do you get the funny into being remote when you're removed? So I'm really interested to hear what everyone has to say today. And thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, Lori, absolutely delighted. When I was studying stand-up, because I did it for a few years in New York, I studied with Steve Rosenfeld's American Comedy Institute, and I debuted at Caroline's. Everybody remembered Caroline's, with about 10 newbies. And the bookends were a professional opener and closer. And we had to invite our families, our friends. They had to pay to get in, just like regular. A couple hundred people there. I think we had 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes on stage, the blue light, the whole thing. And I was scared out of my mind, but I did it. And people came up after and thanked me and told me they related to I said I was a born again divorcee and the V word, never mind. And it was just really, really fun. I had a corsage on. I'm celebrating 21 years of being divorced. And women came up after the show and said, nobody ever talks about that. You're so brave. And it was funny how it related. But what I wanted to say was comedy is so culture based. I think you can all agree with that. The references have to be, as Lori said, to the audience. And when you have remote, think about that. You don't know. You're not in front of an audience. You can't see, hey, who's from Long Island? Who's from New Jersey? Sorry about that. You can't get the flavor for it if it's a remote online audience. You don't know. So I guess there's always the risk of it doesn't hit, that it offends in a specific cultural way. There are all kinds of new challenges, but I want to go on and introduce the other two guests, and then we'll get into it. Peter Michael Marino here via Lori Hamill. Peter, delighted you are rocking a hat too, and welcome, and let's meet you. Go ahead, Peter.
Thanks. Yeah, you can just call me Pete. It's very complicated that I have three names. Lori gave me a great lead in, actually, because we were doing this Margot Rose Federer television show, shooting it in Times Square and in the studio and all this stuff. We had no idea what the audience was how they were going to respond, but we created comedy. From what I hear, there's been quite a few comedy shows that have been playing on television and movie screens forever, where they didn't know what the audience was responding to. So I don't think we're doing anything that different in the world of comedy, although I know stand-up comedians probably feel a little differently about that. I kind of jumped on the digital performing thing. March 18th was my first live show, and I insisted on doing it on this new thing called Zoom. And I had 80 people from around the world, everyone with their microphones on and their screens on. And I had a screen manager in case somebody was eating their quiche during the show. And it worked. I was doing a one-man comedy show called Desperately Seeking the Exit, which I did in Edinburgh for many years and all around the world, which is the true story of my experience writing the West End musical Desperately Seeking Susan, which was a huge flop, and then opened in Tokyo, going back to Lori. I'm looking at you as if I can see your square, which opened in Tokyo and was a big hit. So that was a comedy in itself. Yeah, I've done about 50 online live interactive shows since the pandemic started. So I'm not missing any comedy at all.
And Peter, what about the culture thing? You say people have their microphones on. Are you connecting with everybody? Is it something that is flowing naturally for you?
Yes. My show is a comedy, and I can't do comedy unless I have a reaction from the audience.
Good point.
And I don't know what the timing is. But more importantly, actually, what I learned was I'm doing theater because I'm bringing people together in a shared space at the exact same time where they can see and hear each other. So I feel like I'm keeping theater alive. I love this technology, and I'm a get off my lawn old man kind of guy. So I just adapted. Am I supposed to talk about what I did, what I've done? I don't even know.
Just another minute, because I want to get to Karen. Just another minute. We're enjoying meeting you. Go ahead.
Well, I've been doing a show called Show Up Kids, which is a semi-improvised interactive show with kids all around the world. which is an adaptation of my adult show called Show Up, which is an improvised one-man show that makes fun of one-person shows and improv shows, and also dives into mental health topics, because of course. I produced a bunch of stuff, including Gary Busey's one-man Hamlet as performed by David Carl, which was a big hit in Edinburgh and at the Chicago Shakespeare Theater. And I was in Stomp for 5 years playing, quote unquote, the funny guy.
Peter, it's too bad you have no experience in comedy and you're such a newbie, and we're so happy that you're so brave to show up today and talk like a wannabe. I want to do this. Peter, Laurie, thank you for bringing Peter. This is great. I'm so impressed. And when you said having a live online audience with their mics on, it's theater. You're right. What do you think we're doing now?
Right.
This is supposed to be a technology show. Well, we're having a good time. I think this is a little bit of performance theater, the five of us talking and engaging. I've been doing live radio professionally for almost 10 years. I have 52 radio series. I have launched, produced, and I have hosted every single one of them, sometimes 250 live shows a year. And I just switched to Zoom in the beginning of this year, and the pandemic pushed me into that. I wish I had moved my shows to Zoom a year or two ago. The technology was there, but I love seeing my guests. I get to watch you think and watch you move around and see what's on your mind. And it has added, I love to call it the nuance of being there. And it has just, Laurie, right, it has enhanced radio. And Peter, you're right, it's turned it into almost a theatrical experience. And I love that comment. Karen Bergreen, you have been so patient. You are sitting there in front of your mansion, your multi-million-dollar house with the magnificent lighted pool. Karen, we're so happy you tore yourself away from your gazillionaire lifestyle.
Thank you. And it's interestingly, it's sunset where I am. I'm loving this already. I love meeting you, Bonnie. Happy birthday. And I note that Laurie let us in the song because she has a beautiful voice. So, and then, I'm like, and I was about to make fun of your voice, and you're like, oh, I'm in Mamma Mia. And I'm like, whatever. Okay, so you're a big love me. I've known Eddie since the beginning of time, and I love him. He's so funny. And Peter, you sound so funny. Like, I just want to sit and chit chat with you. My story, I was a lawyer, blah, 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 boring, 20 years ago, switched. And I'm a working comic. I've done some TV. I've been on The View. I've been on some TV shows like as a day role kind of things, like Law and Order kind of stuff. But I am a comedian first and foremost. I am a novelist that I've written 2 comic novels that have gotten pretty good reviews, New York Times kind of thing, Oprah magazine. If I want to just tout myself.
Well, please do. What is a comic novel? Karen, what is a comic novel?
Polly. A comic novel. It's, with a funny character. They're sort of murder mysteries, but you don't really care that the person died. Do you know what I mean? Because they're sort of awful. And they're kind of feel good, sort of Bildungsromans, Romans, like Bridget Jones genre kind of thing.
Okay, thank you.
So then, I have been teaching stand-up for almost 15 years, and I teach with Manhattan Comedy School, which is a competitor to your where you went to.
Right, Steve Rosenfeld, right. And
I've been teaching for really like twice. The classes are 6 weeks long. Each one, I do a Monday class and a Wednesday class. I'm not necessarily promoting the school, but I want to tell you the story of how it relates to this.
Yeah.
And I do them, like we don't take like Columbus Day off. Like, I've been doing this for so long. March 12th, we decided to do a Thursday class. It was going to start on March 12th. And the night before was when Tom Hanks said he was sick. And I am allergic to technology. I have AOL. The idea that I'm on this show is like, my kids will laugh, but there's a however. And March 12th, I freaked out, and I called the guy who runs the school, and I said, I can't do this. Like, we're going to die. And I had already been for a couple of weeks coming in gloves. Like I was scared. And he goes, okay, well, we'll just start on Zoom next week on Monday. And I was like, Zoom? I don't even know what Zoom is. So that class that was supposed to start March 12th, I did the other ones, the Monday and Wednesday that sort of continued. But that class that was supposed to start on March 12th, we started on March 19th. The level of intimacy that we had, there is an intimacy on Zoom. I love my students. You develop for people who, like Eddie, you said you do workshops. I don't know, Bonnie, if you remember your people in your class, you develop this weird in the trenches. Feel, like I feel this like love toward them. Yep. But this group, because of the corona, because could do this, we got so connected. The class ended 6 weeks later. We still meet every Thursday on Zoom, even if it's for an hour. And even if we do sort of an a la carte thing, even if it's like there's no money exchange, like just to have like a glass of wine, there's something about this. And I feel like I've really educated myself. I do a show with 2 other women. It used to be called Lean Over. We now call it the Ruthless Comedy Hour. We've been doing it on the Upper West Side for, it's like a charity thing that we do for it. And it's a variety show. We've changed it into so much more of a variety. It was variety before because one of the people is a musical person. But now we do sketch. You could do stuff with sketch. We have so much fun. It's kind of like, it's opened me comedically this. Now I do miss the live audiences. I perform in Central Park usually twice a week with Stand Up New York. And when I first did that, I cried because it was so exciting to have that face to face. Am I going on too long, Bonnie?
No, just another 30 seconds because I want to get to the quotes, but I'm loving your story, Karen. Okay, absolutely.
So I cried, but I do find like we can do things like I love the chat section on Zoom. What an amazing way to involve an audience. It's like a dream. And then we can talk more in the individual things, but I love meeting you all.
Thank you, Karen. Fascinating. So you were what we used to call, or we do call, a Luddite. You said you allergic to technology. You didn't want to do it. And here you are on a show about technology, revolution, the future, now my show. And Zoom has changed your life as an instructor of comedy, as a relator to comic people, as a colleague, as a collaborator. Fascinating. We never anticipated this, did we, Lori? That this, oh my God, we can't see people, we can't. And now here we are. I'm so thrilled to be speaking to all 4 of you because you've all added so much already. We're almost half past. We didn't get to the quotes yet. I'm almost wanting to skip them, but you know what? I'm not. So you all went to the effort of picking a quote from a movie, a book, a song. I'm going to do a very quick read on the background. And I'll tell you what, let's keep this segment because I want to get to the predictions. That's what people want to know. Let's keep this segment about 2 minutes tight a piece on explaining your quote. So all right, here we go. So Eddie Sarfadia sent us a quote from 1984, a novel by George Orwell, published it as 1984. That's the name that has been known as. It was originally called 1984, spelled out, a novel. It's a dystopian novel by English novelist George Orwell, published in 1949. It was his 9th and final book, and it centers on the consequences of totalitarianism, mass surveillance, and repressive regimentation of all people and behaviors within society. I'll leave it alone. Here's the quote. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. Eddie, rescue us. How does this relate to comedy? Go ahead, Eddie. Ouch.
Yeah, I noticed after I sent it in that it was very different from everyone else's quote. But I think it's influenced by, what's happening with technology now. I think maybe I would tweak the quote to say, a boot trying to stamp on a human face.
Okay.
But, all the stuff that's going on right now with disinformation and the collecting of data from people, it's frightening. And I think that we're unaware of it, and we're unaware of how technology is influencing our behavior and our beliefs and so forth. And since comedy is so, it's emotional. I mean, good comedy is about connection. It's got to have an emotional content. It's got to be more than just clever. And, all the information that's collected, if you watch a comedy show on the internet, they're measuring how long you watch it. They're measuring what time you watch it, what kind of comedy appeals to you. And we've all heard stories about, cameras secretly recording us. And, just in the future, I think those tools can be turned against us. And comedy, because it's so emotional, is a great way to influence people, influence people emotionally. And you're unguarded. When you share a laugh with somebody, it's like a moment of intimacy that you allow yourself, that's safe, in a way that intimacy based on any other emotion isn't. So, that's why it's easy to use comedy to get unpleasant news across, or to keep people's attention to things they'd rather not be, worrying about. In all the studies that they've done comparing, Jon Stewart's audience, for example, to people who watch CNN, the Jon Stewart people always end up being much better informed about what's going on. And I started thinking, well, what if Jon Stewart had some nefarious goal and feeding us information on, that we were willing to accept from him or whoever because we feel connected, we feel bonded to him because he's making us laugh. And if you were to couple that with all of the data that's being collected from us, and now it's just getting more and more sophisticated where they can, different facial expressions and tying that to the, cross-reference that with the other information. A friend of mine was writing an article about a meditation program where it recorded, how your brain waves were getting relaxed during the meditation. And the frightening thing about that is all of a sudden your brainwave information is going to people. So it seemed there's going to be some kind of thing where that information is going to be used to someone's advantage, either to sell something or to influence you in ways that you're not aware of. So I think that my take on the topic was going further than what's going to happen next week. Sort of this, big warning that we're all going to have going forward.
Thank you, Eddie. That's the dark side of comedy. Comedy as a delivery mechanism to bring real people in, and the subtext. I think you're talking about subtext, submessage, and we're going to lighten this up a little bit. So thank you very much. That's our dark side of comedy and tech, and I appreciate that, Eddie. Now let's lighten it up. Lori has sent us a quote from Frodo and Gandalf from The Lord of the Rings, an epic high fantasy novel by the English author and scholar J.R. Tolkien. And Gandalf is a protagonist. He is the wizard of the Istari Order, and Frodo Baggins is a fictional character. He's a hobbit of the Shire who inherits the One Ring from his cousin Bilbo Baggins. Let's leave it at that. Frodo said, "I wish it need not have happened in my time." "So do I," said Gandalf. "And so do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us." Lori, what's this all about?
Well, okay, first of all, during the pandemic now, I have been watching a lot of The Lord of the Rings, I'll admit it, and also The Hobbit. I have watched them many times. So there's just something soothing about it. Other times I've watched all the Harry Potter, all 8 movies. So that's usually when I'm doing my taxes. But this is what's happening for me is that, you're watching these shows and there's these kernels of truth in it. And I just felt like, when Gandalf said that about, all we have to decide is what we're going to do with our time that we are given. And I was thinking about that because I've been trying to really use this time during the pandemic to learn and doing everything I can. Like Karen was talking about, getting excited about Zoom. I've been taking classes, teaching classes, and it's just been a great way for me to actually deepen my understanding of some of the topics that I love, including, performance, voiceover, And I just feel like it's just important for us to just say, this is what I got. What am I going to do with it? Got lemons, make lemonade, that kind of thing. So that's something that I've been trying to incorporate into my daily plan. I make a list of everything I'm going to do that day, and includes getting outside and getting a great walk and being just uplifted by that. So that's where that quote comes from. And I do love watching The Lord of the Rings.
Thank you, Lori. And I'm watching some new comedy types of shows on Netflix. And unfortunately, the new series only have 6 or 8 or 10 episodes. So I have devoured Sisters. I have devoured The Duchess. I have devoured Girl Boss. I have devoured Emily in Paris. I can get a series done in 2 nights. Late at night, and I'm like, what am I going to watch next? So I'm just going through over and over. The binging is turning into, what the heck am I going to find next? It's a constant quest. I think I need to go with something a little more traditional, like what you have. Let's go on, Peter Michael Marino. Pete, he said I should call him Pete. Okay, Pete. Pete has a 3-word quote, and it is from a song by Blondie. Everybody remember Debbie Harry? Da 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 da. I remember that one. The lyrics by Christine and Debbie Harry. Dreaming is a song by the new wave band Blondie, released in 1979. Well, that was a couple of weeks ago. The opening track from their 4th album, Eat to the Beat, and it was inspired by ABBA's hit single, Dancing Queen. Everybody knows that. Here is the quote, 3 little words. We love the short quotes. Pete, dreaming is free. Pete, where'd you find this, and what does it have to do with our topic? Go ahead.
Well, the song "Dreaming" is the opening number of my failed musical, so I heard it a lot. But it really, I don't know, it just resonated with me forever. That you can just dream about, think about, and plan whatever the heck you want to. It's no one's charging you to do that. No one's getting inside your brain, stopping you, and I really think that, like I mentioned, going to the Edinburgh Fringe, I've done it like 6 or 7 times, which is not free. Edinburgh Fringe is very expensive. But I was exposed to so many comedians and just all kinds of artists who clearly had dreams of wacky, unbelievably original, how are they going to pull this off shows? And then they made them happen. And I definitely became a better artist and a more creative artist and probably a funnier artist just from witnessing other people's dreams come to life. I kind of coach people a lot on different things. I mean, I coach people on PR and marketing and solo shows, but it winds up always being some kind of psychological thing instead, I missed that life coach boat, darn it. And I'm not getting on it because that's just so obvious right now to do that. Just feel free to dream, and then feel free to make mistakes. I think it was Bill Irwin said that comedy is someone in trouble trying to get out of trouble, which to me is any creator who's trying something new is clearly going to get in trouble. And the human part of it is we relate to them trying to get out of that trouble. So, I never thought I'd be doing a kid show. I mean, Lori's known me forever. You never would have thought I was going to be doing a kid show, but somebody offered me money to turn my show into a kid show. So I said, money, yes. And thought about it, and then just wrote it. And then now it's a show. I mean, I'm doing one today after this in my studio, which used to be my office. And now it's a freaking children's studio.
There you go.
So just dream.
Yep. Keep dreaming. Dream on. Matter of fact, I'm a drummer now. Lori knows that I call myself a chick drummer with little red suede booties, and I have my own band. And the first song I played about 8 weeks after I started drum lessons was Dream On by Aerosmith as part of an adult band at the School of Rock where I was taking lessons. And they said, okay, you want to be in the band? We're performing in 6 to 8 weeks. You're going to be on stage at Motorco in downtown Durham. Good luck. And I said, oh, It wasn't my kind of music. I don't know what I was doing. And I got on stage, and there's an audience of about 150 people in this big stadium-like building. And I thought, I've done stage work. I've done bachelor auctions. I've produced and hosted TV and radio for years, but I've never been on stage with a pair of drumsticks. Dream on. I'm sorry for the sidebar, but it was so funny. And the most amazing thing happened. We finished the song, and I'd been in rehearsals with the band for weeks, twice a week. And one of the guitar players, the lead guitar, just before the end of the song, turned to me, lifted his guitar up like this, and he and I locked eyes, and he came down on the last note as I came down on the last crash. It was the first time. He never did that in rehearsals. And we went, boom! And I just jumped up. I was screaming, yay, yay, yay. It was so dream on. Yes, dreaming and all kinds of it. I'm sorry for that, but you just brought back the memory. Thank you, Pete.
You're welcome.
Karen, we have got a quote from Sarah Dessen, the author of Saint Anything. It's actually from, let me just read a little background because I have never heard of her, and she's in Chapel Hill, and I'm in Raleigh, Durham area. And she waitressed at the restaurant The Flying Burrito in Chapel Hill while launching her writing career. She wrote during the day. She waitressed at night. She quit her job after her first book was published that summer in 1996. And following the publication of her book, Dreamland, she taught at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and wrote what would become a book called This Lullaby. She has made the New York Times bestseller list. She's won awards. She's young adult literature, YA. I had no idea. She's written 13 novels, and people call her a machine, Karen, because she just keeps pumping out these award-winning books. I got to find her. So anyway, here is the quote. The future was one thing that could never be broken because it had not yet had the chance to be anything. Karen, that's beautiful. Talk to me. How did you find that?
You know, I found that I was never even a Sarah Dessen reader. And I'm actually a really avid reader. But I read, there was a big controversy involving her, I think like a year or two ago, because somebody was up for I don't know if it was something, it was not the Booker Prize, but it was some major literary award. And she didn't win the award because people said her stuff wasn't serious enough because it was YA, and I don't even write YA, but it annoyed me because to me, it's like a way to keep women down because women write really good YA. I don't know. That just really, so I started reading all about her and I came upon that quote and I was like, that is so true. I mean, it's really it's kind of what a little bit, Pete, what you were saying, you just have this idea of what, you make all these plans and everything, and it's a future in the future. And I think this with, I have teenage children and we don't even know what anything's going to look like. And boy, is that true now. It seems like everything every day is not what I would have predicted the day before. And it is, I'm trying to embrace it instead of looking at it from a dystopian way. I'm trying to look at it as a little bit of an adventure because you have two choices. You can either fight it, which as we know from my previous thing, I kind of do with the, AOL account and stuff, or you can say, bring it on. Let me see how I can navigate this. So that's really why.
Thank you, Karen. I'm very happy to hear about Sarah Dessen, and I'm obviously not a YA. I wish I was. YA,
by the way, I read some. I read so much because I am a big reader, and every now and then I go through phases where I read YA, and they're really good. They're very high concept. Sometimes it's a little too high concept for me. There's a life and death on every page. But they are really engaging, those books. I mean, the reason why they sell so well is they're so dramatic. There's kind of like a soap opera aspect to many of them.
Thank you. Very interesting. I was going to say that I'm not going to tell you what my age is today, but if I do dyslexia on my age, I'm a very young person again. We'll just leave that alone. So I've reversed the numbers. I told my granddaughters I'm close to their age again, and they didn't say anything. Okay, so let's go to predictions. This is going to be really tight. Let's take 1 minute each for each prediction because I want to see how many we can get. So keep it tight. Eddie Sarfati, I'm looking at prediction number 2. This is fascinating. You say, due to the spread of communication technology, audience size is continually expanding. Since there are over 7,000 languages currently spoken around the world, and probably more coming, the demand for physical and visual comedy, which doesn't rely on spoken words, will increase. Eddie, 60 seconds. What does this mean? Go ahead. Fascinating.
Well, I think it means what I think I described what it means. If people want to reach as many people as possible, and if the internet, is a commercially for-profit driven medium, then, it pays to invent products that are going to be appealing to the widest number of people as possible. And, comedy can be very specific, very local. I mean, I don't know, Seinfeld appealed to the US, which surprised everyone. They thought it was just going to be sort of this New York, East Coast kind of appeal, but is it going to appeal to, Sherpers in Nepal? Is it going to appeal to, people in the rainforest in New Guinea when they get internet next month? Probably not. And I think it's just a cost effectiveness thing. We can all laugh at somebody slipping on a banana peel. We can all laugh at a pie in the face. We can all laugh at funny facial expressions or, all those kinds of things. And I think, that would be at least a big component of a comedian being literally world famous. Not just world famous like we see it now, but literally every crack and crevice of the world famous.
Thank you, Eddie. Appreciate that. Let's go to prediction. This is a lightning round, kids. Flory Hamill, prediction number 2. Commercials will continue to find the funny to sell their products, giving comics a chance to shine and make money. Woohoo! Lori, talk to me.
Well, I'm a living example because I actually right now on Comedy Central, there's a commercial that I shot from home. Literally, my husband had to be my cameraman. They sent a camera kit and I did it, but for Old Spice. And it was a format that was really fun because it's actually a Zoom format. So I just think that commercials are a great way to be able to supplement a comics income. And also, I want to say that, commercials love, especially for the auditions, improvisation. And that's such a big part. I love improv so much. So I think that there's just like an unpredictability in that. And I think people really respond to it also when they're watching the commercials. I love being a part of it.
And Lori, I studied improv with Michael Gelman from Chicago Second City in New York many years ago. And there's something about good improv. You watch Whose Line Is It Anyway? You watch those shows on TV, and you know what most of the people who don't understand how it works say, oh, somebody wrote the script. They just memorized the line. Nobody believes you can be that clever and funny by the seat of your pants spontaneously. The viewers think it had to be. And I understand that Robin Williams would change his comedy routines for each audience. Everybody thought it was so fresh and alive, but he delivered it differently, a little bit differently. There's that thought on improv that responding to the moment or to the character or to the line, it reels you in and you come out with something that engages the audience. Nobody believes that people can really do that. That's what I find fascinating about really, really clever improv. Pete, let's go to you. Prediction number 2. Performers will create new forms of comedy, embracing all that the worldwide digital access affords. What kind of new forms are we talking about here, Pete?
I mean, I'm already seeing it. I've been attending fringe festivals that have continued to go on since April, and I'm seeing performers that normally are up in front of a microphone, just creating brand new types of interactive things involving polls and chats and stuff you send in ahead of time. They're just getting ridiculously creative. And I include myself in that. I mean, I didn't know, I'm one of those performers who's like, oh, what's next? I'll never have an idea as good as the one I'm doing now. And then one day I just decided I'm going to recreate the original Planet of the Apes film using grapes and call it Planet of the Grapes. And my studio is now turning into, I'm studying something called toy theater from the Renaissance and learning about all these little paper theaters that people used to build to put on their own shows. So, but I'm making mine out of cutting boards and grapes and vines and wine and things you'd find. I never thought I'd be doing that ever. A puppet show? What? No. Yep. So, yeah, for me, it's working, and the stuff I'm seeing is much more exciting. I hate to say that, than stuff I've gotten used to seeing.
That's okay. That's innovation. That's creativity. That's necessity is the mother of somebody's new form of comedy, right?
Yeah.
And Karen, I'm going to your prediction number 1. You say comedy shows online are here to stay. So many audiences who would never set foot in a comedy club can experience stand-up in their homes. Karen, talk to me. Good prediction.
Well, I've been doing a ton of shows since this thing started. And especially like some of my crowds, some of the people that find me funny are a little older. They don't really get the whole comedy club thing. They feel like it's for young people, like it's dirty. They have this idea that it's sort of this gritty kind of strip club thing. And they might go to a theatrical show, but then they might not have access to going to a theatrical show. So they go to the one online. And you know what? Even the younger people are going because it's cheaper. You don't have to, for people who don't want to spend money on like a drink minimum or might be in recovery and don't want to be around people who are drinking or whatever, they can watch it in their homes. The whole thing is so much easier for them. And they can make it more fun for themselves by inviting their friends and using the chat view. Like some people like going to the comedy show just so that they could go through the gallery and see who else is at the comedy show and look at their houses. That's why I have this beautiful
Touche, Karen. Thank you very much. We are back to, let's see, we're going to make one more round before we only have 8 minutes left to the show. Let's see how fast we can go through these. Eddie, prediction number 4, second part, comedy connoisseurs. I want to be a comedy connoisseur when I grow up. We'll begin to produce comedy locally in what will first be a niche market, or niche is the French, a niche market, analogous to locally sourced food, but will eventually become the norm once again. And the French phrase is plus ça change, plus LMM shows. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Eddie, 60 seconds. Vite, fast. What do you think?
Okay, well, I think the situation is kind of analogous to the advent of Comedy Central, where all of a sudden people had this parade of comics going through their living room 24/7, and it really kind of killed comedy clubs for quite a long time. And then eventually, people missed the contact, people missed the intimacy. And I think now with Zoom and all the stuff that's going online, part of it out of necessity, people are hungry for it, which I think is why Zoom is working decently with comedy. But I think in the end, people are going to rediscover how important connecting is and how important being around other people is, that people are going to start producing local things in sort of this like boutique kind of market. And eventually that's, it'll be like a cyclical thing.
Thank you very much. Vite. French. Fast. Let's go to Lori. Lori, prediction number 4. Interesting. Short form like Quibi. I hope I'm saying it right.
Quibi.
Quibi. Q-U-I-B-I is here to stay and maybe even in shorter formats. How short is short comedy? Lori, talk to me.
Well, I think, for me, I'm a headline consumer. Definitely. I will just, you see the headline and you feel like you got your information. And Vine was here, but very shortly, and it's gone. And that was very short form video. And now Quibi has just been was nominated for many Emmy Awards. I don't know how many they won, but they just launched. So it's like, I think things will happen that people can find the funny or the information quicker and quicker. And why not? It's just another exploration of ways to make us laugh.
Thank you.
Not that Quibi can also be very dark.
Okay. Comedy that makes us laugh. Let's go to Peter. Pete, I've got prediction number 4 teed up here. Celebrity comics. Is Lori one of those celebrity comics? We'll decide. Celebrity comics will be more accessible and engage more personally with their audiences. Pete, talk to me. Tell me more.
I mean, there isn't more to say. That's a really well written sentence. So
don't do that. Don't do that to the host. Say something. Say something.
Well, I mean, look, we're learning from young people. Young people have gotten all these people to engage with them, like pretty much talentless but interesting young people have embraced digital forms like TikTok and all the short form video things. And they are becoming celebrities, and they are staying in touch with their audiences. And eventually, everybody else is going to have to keep up with them and be more personal with their audiences. So, yeah.
Thank you.
It went from Comedy Central, and then we learned about somebody, so then we saw them in person, and then we saw them in person, and then we follow them on Twitter, and then they watch their Zoom show, and suddenly we're in their living room. How much more personal can you get?
That's true. Pete, you did write a very well-written prediction, and thank you for forcing yourself to expand it in my BS. I appreciate it. We're doing improv here, kids.
That's comedy. That's comedy.
I hope so. Karen, prediction number 2. I like this one. You say the art of stand-up will change online. Jokes will include more than just language and performance. They may include the technology itself. Karen, this sounds like a visual. What is this all about? Karen, you've got about a minute and a half, and then we're going to do a quick wrap-up. Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, so, it used to be with stand-up, it was just you and the mic, and it was kind of looked down upon to have props, to have extra things, like that was considered sort of cheating. Now we have the 4 corners of the camera. So that anything goes now. It's free. You can have props. No one's going to look down on you. It's literally like, are you connecting? And it might mean using the chat, using the polls, doing special things with, why is Zoom adding all these little, mustaches and silly hats and stuff? It's all to make it enhanced. And I don't think people are thinking of it as cheating anymore. It's all about, let's use what we have, in the 4 corners.
Thank you. Very well put. Anybody want to make a comment on that one? We did go through the Zoom, the little extras before we started the show. And everybody, you have to update your Zoom. It's updated twice in the past 5 days, I think, and you'll see all of the little enhancements. I have so much enjoyed, that's an inside out sentence. I have really enjoyed so much talking to the 4 of you on October 7th. And thank you all for your insights about technology. It is, in a way, it's democratizing comedy, right? And back in the day, I took comedy out of the dark comedy clubs, and I started performing with my troupe. What did we call ourselves? Bonnie G and Du Bois. Boyz, in Borders bookstores and in public libraries on Long Island. And it was interesting because I didn't want just to do it in places where people had to go and it was smoky and they had to pay and it was a big deal. I want to take it to other audiences. So maybe I was ahead of my time. I don't know. I think a lot of people were doing it. It was just a lot of fun to help people laugh. We did get thrown out of one Borders because one of my comedians used the V word about a woman's anatomy. Oh no, virgin. He said virgin, and the woman had a 10-year-old child with her in the coffee shop. We took over a whole Borders coffee shop. We had like 150 people who didn't want to buy coffee and cake. They just wanted to hear comedy. And the manager got furious, but they were very offended that somebody used that V word. And so we were blackballed a lot of the Borders around Long Island. Those were the days, kid. I want to say thank you to all of you. We're just about out of time. Let's start around the table. Eddie Sarfati, one word, where will you be doing your favorite comedy in the next year? One word, where?
In my living room.
Thank you. Lori Hamill, where will you be doing your comedy in the next year with the technology?
Office.
Office. Okay. Pete? Pete, you're muted, doll. Pete, you're still muted. Pete? Yep.
Yes, I was coughing. I'm doing my comedy everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay. Karen, will you still be in the mansion on the pool?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll still be here on Technology Revolution, the future of now. Thank you all for joining me. It's been lovely. And a shout out to everybody. Clap for Aaron Keller, my engineer extraordinaire, who calls himself my sidekick because he really, really is. And a shout out again to Susan Corso for originally introducing me to Eddie. Eddie for introducing me to Karen. Lori Hamill, known you for years, for introducing me to Peter Michael Marino. I like 3 names, Pete. It's fine. Okay. And this is Technology Revolution, the future of now. Remember, if somebody says to you, and wait everybody, because I want to take some group pictures. If somebody says to you, the future is already here, you say, no, Bonnie told me. That was yesterday's future. Today's future, it hasn't happened yet. And we're all going to make it a better one with laughter. Everybody wave goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for Technology Revolution, the future of now. Mark your calendar to join host Bonnie D. Graham every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern on the Voice America Business Channel to hear how technology is impacting your future now.